The quietest storms leave the deepest scars. And in the swirling sands of Las Vegas this summer, a silent thunder has been brewing, one that could very well rewrite the trajectory of the Warriors' next chapter. Welcome back to Warriors News, fan report where raw truths collide with splash-era passion. Smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so your heart never misses a beat. Amidst the flurry of high-flying dunks and spotlight-stealing rookies during this summer league, the Golden State Warriors closed out their Las Vegas journey with a solid 82-71 victory over the Cleveland Cavaliers, marking a respectable 3-2 finish, just shy of the semifinals but rich with promise and revelation. And while the Cavaliers were licking their wounds, Warriors scouts and fans alike were fixated on a name that was barely whispered before the summer began: Chris Manion. Undrafted, under the radar, underestimated Manion at 23, transformed from an outsider into the storyline no Dub Nation member should forget as training camp looms. His final summer league explosion was nothing short of masterful. 17 points, 5 rebounds, a couple of assists, but more importantly, 4 steals and 2 blocks, all compressed into a mere 23 minutes on the court. Efficiency? Off the charts. Shooting with deadly precision 4 of 5 from the field, 8 of 10 at the charity stripe, and most impressively, committing a solitary personal foul in a gritty, unyielding performance that turned heads and shifted narratives. The plus 21 team-high plus-minus wasn't just a number. It was a symbol, a flashing beacon signaling that his value isn't confined to raw stats, but pulses through every play, every defensive rotation, every hustle moment that Warriors legends, like Draymond Green, have preached for decades. Manion's journey isn't a tale of instant stardom. It's the underdog's climb that echoes the We Believe era's grit and resilience. Not born from boastful draft cards, but forged through the relentless grind of a 4-year NSA career and the bitter disappointment of going undrafted in 2025. Yet in Vegas, he flipped that narrative on its head. Early flashes against the Toronto Raptors confirmed he belonged among NBA hopefuls. But it's the tenacious defensive intelligence, the smart reads, and the ball-agnostic impact that has front offices whispering the potential moves as the Warriors juggle a tangled salary cap web dominated by the towering contracts of Curry, Draymond, and yes, the newly re-signed Jimmy Butler III, with the roster still very much a puzzle. Kevin Looney expatriated to New Orleans, Gary Payton II unsigned, and lingering like a question mark Golden State's need for a foundational, defensively seasoned guard who thrives without ball domination couldn't be clearer. Enter Manion. Here's the under-the-radar bomb no one saw coming. This is a player whose DNA is steeped in the core values that made the Splash era immortal: unselfishness, relentless hustle, and a basketball IQ tuned to defensive excellence. Summer League head coach Lane Wilson, who sensed Manion's brewing storm before his breakout finale, now calls him a Gamechanger, a label heavy with implication for a franchise perpetually hunting the right blend of stars and scrappy role players who can spark the engine at minimal cost. Could Manion be that two-way contract diamond in the rough, poised to split his time candy between G League grit and NBA flashes, the very blueprint Golden State has used to nurture elusive talents in recent years? This isn't just about filling minutes or balancing paychecks. It's about laying a new brick in the evolving Warriors dynasty, one that's part splash, part defense, and all heart. As we digest the fading echoes of Summer League's bright lights, remember, Chris Manion's story is just heating up. Could this be the watershed moment that turns everything on its head for the Warriors amid a roster in flux and a championship window that aches for fresh fuel? Is this the subtle spark that fans once glimpsed in the tenacity of We Believe, and the precision of the Splash era's sharpshooters now morphing into a new breed of gritty, defensive-minded champions? And what does this portend when you consider the ironclad demands of Steph Curry, the imposing legacy of Draymond, and the relentless hunger of rising stars like Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody pushing for minutes? Could Manion's emergence be the perfect foil to balance this? Rosters high-powered offense with the kind of defensive edge that brutal playoff runs are built upon, like the Warriors teams that clawed through adversity and rewrote NBA history. Again and again? As a lifelong Dub Nation believer, my pulse is racing just writing this. The tides are shifting, and in the relentless pursuit of greatness, every fragment of hope matters. But is this the ignition point for our next title run? Or the crack that splits our legacy? Drop your unfiltered takes in the comments. I'll be right there, heart in hand. If you felt your chest tighten when Manion locked down that switch defensive assignment, or when his eyes sparked with that rare, hungry fire late in the game, I want to hear it now. No holding back, no polite nods. This is the kind of moment that demands raw reaction from the deepest corners of Dub Nation. Because here's the truth, and it hits harder than a Draymond roar in the paint. Chris Manion isn't just some quiet background player waiting for a shot. He's a crack in the armor of what we thought the Warriors had set in stone, and maybe the beginning of a seismic shift we didn't see coming in a landscape littered with shaken stars and bubbling egos. Let's not sugarcoat the pressure cooker. This offseason has been Curry chasing the twilight of his peak. His legendary range still untouchable, but the wear and tear obvious. Draymond's grisly veteran presence now tangled in whispered controversies. An intensity that sometimes crosses lines, leaving Kerr and the front office walking a tightrope between discipline and legacy preservation. And across the wings, Kuminga and Moody standing on the precipice of defining their roles but anxious, perhaps even bruised by the weight of expectations that feel like a noose clipped to the championship pipeline. This isn't your usual summer. Shuffle, it's a puzzle missing its final piece, with Golden State staring down the barrel of a season where minutes, roles, and even identities could fracture or fuse in moments. And sprinkle on top the looming mystery of Gary Payton I's status, our once brilliant defensive catalyst. Now a ghost in the system, unsigned and unspoken for, but crucial if this roster is to bridge the gap between perennial contender and dominant force. In that context, Manion's sharp entrance feels less like coincidence and more like strategic prophecy. Could this be Kerr and Bob Myers' quiet rebellion against the now familiar salary cap chokehold that's throttled flexibility for years? Picking up a defensive guard who doesn't demand the ball, who's hungry but not boastful, and who embodies that irrepressible gritty spirit from days like, we believe it's almost like they're planting flags for a new Warriors identity in the shadows. One that leans into the scrappy, the relentless, the smart, where defense becomes the foundation and offense. As jaw-dropping as it remains through Curry's wizardry, follows suit in disciplined harmony. And let's be real, the narrative swirling around Jimmy Butler. I's re-signing isn't just lip service or wallet work. It's a high-wire act in a fragile ecosystem. Does his presence mean taking Manion deeper into a chess game of defined roles? Or does it threaten to cap a rookie's runway with a veteran's heavy demands? This tension isn't just on paper. It's vibrating through the Chase Center walls and locker room whispers. Watch how Steve Kerr has always woven chess pieces meticulously. Yet this time, the unpredictability feels louder, like the echoes of 2016 when the Dubs nearly blew a 3-1 lead. Only now, the challenges spin in tougher directions with injuries, aging stars, and gnawing cap constraints tightening the noose. And that's why the Manion story feels electrifying, the perfect riptide in a high-stakes ocean. He brings a selfless energy, not unlike Andre Iguodala, the uncelebrated glue guy, who made the difference between a team that just shoots and one that wins titles. Could Manion be chasing that shadow? It's not a stretch to imagine Kerr's mind racing through possibilities late at night. What if Manion's tenacity births a new defensive identity? What if his low foul count symbolizes maturity beyond years? A player who knows that control can ignite chaos on offense. What if, by crafting a two-way contract around this guy, the Warriors quietly restore the balance that feels so precarious in today's NBA, where offense often dominates and defense feels like a fading art? Now factor in the front office's puzzle of urgency countered by patience. You can almost feel Bob Myers grinding gears to negotiate the unthinkable, retain the core, while injecting this raw spark without unraveling locker room chemistry or salary sanity. Remember, this isn't just about earning minutes. It's about staking a claim in a narrative bigger than any contract or highlight reel, the evolution of a dynasty. Because here's the punchline: we've idolized Curry's shooting, marveled at Draymond's versatility, and rooted for Kuminga's breakout. But the NBA's brutal math says defense wins championships, and defense starts with identity and unrelenting heart qualities. Manion is silently flashing like a beacon in Vegas night. And when the chatter turns to Wiggins, our once and future wild card, how will Manion's emergence influence that equation? Could Manion's defense squeeze Wiggins into a different role, one that maximizes his offense but protects our defensive floor? Or could it signal a tough decision this front office might be forced to face, holding on to past hopes or embracing a scrappier, smarter blueprint? The emotional stakes are sky high for every Dub Nation member who remembers the unbearable tension of Game 7 South, the blood, sweat, and tears of those dynasty-defining playoff runs. There's a spark of hope flickering in this underdog story that could redefine everything. As we stare down the twilight of Curry's era, the persistent grumble of Draymond's fiery intensity, and the tentative promise of Youngic energy, Manion stands as a symbol of relentless hustle's enduring value, reminding us that legacies aren't just built on highlight dunks or triple-doubles, but on those gritty, unseen moments where a player's resolve sets them apart. I'm telling you, the burning question nobody's willing to yell from the rooftops yet is, can Manion be that final, secret piece of the Warriors machine, a low-profile disruptor with a Warriors soul capable of tipping the scales in playoff crucibles where every possession claws for supremacy? Because if the answer is yes, then what we're witnessing right now in training camp and the looming season is more than a battle for rotation spots. It's a lifeline thrown to a dynasty that's refused to die but needs to adapt or risk fracture. As someone who's bled blue and gold through every heartbreak, every parade, every cliffhanger buzzer beater, and soul-crushing injury, trust me when I say I feel it in my bones. Something shifting in Dub Nation's heart. It's wild. It's electric. It's messy, yet it carries the weight of those Warriors who came before us and those who will blaze this path forward. So I'm throwing this to you now, no filter. No fluff, drop your hottest take below. Is Chris Manion the missing jigsaw of a dynasty refusing to fade? Or just another hopeful spark that'll flicker out? Are we witnessing the birth of the next defining chapter, or the beginning of internal tectonic shifts that could fracture our legacy? I'll be in those comments, eyes peeled, fire burning, receipts and reasons ready, because this story's just getting started. And you know as well as I do, in Dub Nation, every heartbeat, every word, every opinion is part of the fight. Moment this all season is where legends are made, or legacies fade, and trust me when I say, this is for the real ones, the diehards who feel every iota of tension crackling through the air like static before a storm. Now it's your turn, drop your hottest, rawest takes below. What does Bryant's potential addition mean to you, salvation or sabotage? Are we reading the lightning or treading water? I'm here, reading every word with the heart of a warrior, ready to clash in the comments, because this isn't just a roster update. It's the next pulse in our saga, the next battle, the next chance for glory or grit. Dub Nation, it's our story to write, so tell me, what are we really building here?